Hello everyone and welcome back to the Darren Connell podcast show, Straight White Whale. This is episode 24. Unbelievable. Thank you so much for everybody that tunes in and watches it. Basically my second cousins and my ma. So, there we go. Before I get into the podcast, I want to thank McTassos, the beautiful Greek food truck that's based in Kelvin Way, and they've got a wee stall up at the fort as well. So I just want to thank them for supporting this podcast. It's beautiful food, very cheap prices, halloumi, beef and chicken. So go in about it and go and try one out. And then when you try one out, tell them that you're there because Darren Connell sent you, so the cunts can fucking sponsor the podcast again.
You're fucking right. Here, do you get to eat there for free?
They have been kind.
Okay,
They've
right.
been kind.
That's all right, because PJ and Dax were in, they were like, oh, we're eating there for nothing. I'm like, ah, right. And I'm thinking, I should get a camera on me so that I can eat there. I'm waking up going, do you know Paul on and they'll be like, no mate, fuck off.
I'll give him that, because back in the day, a couple of years ago, I helped them out with something.
Right.
And it helped them. It did help them.
I might go up and name drop you, mate.
Darren Connell's my best pal.
Just be like, I'm the producer, I'm the guy that makes it happen. Where's my fucking G-Ross?
I know. But I'm quite strange, as in, no, I'm not strange. I like to pay my way as well. I don't want to take the piss. Like, so see, I mean, I've not had one in ages, right? But I like to get two because I'm a fat cunt. And then I'm like, but I don't want two for free. Why don't you make me pay for one? And then I'll get one for free.
Mate, I went by the one in Kelvin Way with my mate. I was like, oh, we need to try McTassos on Sunday. And the fucking queue.
Crazy.
It was mental, mate. We didn't get near it. I was like, fuck that, man.
Was it the wee old guy working there?
I didn't see it. I seen it feel like the bottom of the street. I looked up and seen the amount of people outside, and I was like, no, I was like to him, that's because of Straight White Whale. He was like, really? I don't know, mate.
Nah. No, it definitely helps them. So thank you very much, troops. And I don't know how long they've got left, but we've got a new sponsor. So I don't know if McTassos has got one more week, but we've got a new sponsor after that.
How many weeks did they take?
They took 8 in total.
I'll check back on that.
Aye. So I think it's like one left or something.
Right, okay. We won't mention the new sponsor. We'll keep it as a surprise, will we? Or do you want to mention them?
No, we'll keep it as a surprise. It's not going to be as exciting as hair transplants and McTassos. I'll say I'll still suck their cocks for comical value.
So how you been, mate?
I've been okay. I've been absolutely fucked for... This is why I know that I'm loving this podcast, by the way. I would have cancelled the day if this was like 2 years ago. Since the podcast, a lot of people commented on it as well. Since the podcast last week, people were getting in touch and saying, you look fucked, like shattered. And I felt it, mate. You said yourself, it just hit us like a ton of bricks. And when I got home last week, essentially I've just been in my bed for 9 days. I've had 3 COVID tests and they're all negative. But I'm feeling much better. I mean, I do feel rough as fuck. My muscles are killing us, man, and my bones are killing us. And I'm more struggling, but I didn't want to miss a week of this podcast because the last time I missed it, the numbers dipped, and it just keeps me productive. But
that's it, mate.
You should have seen the fucking Nickies yesterday, man. Massive ginger beard, let it grow right up past my cheeks. Hair was long, stinking of pure shite. And I was like, I need to get out of the gaff, man. So I was saying I was, back to walking with a weighted vest on and stuff. In the last 2 weeks, I've just fucked it, man. So
Can't date, mate. Like that. See, like that. People that are like, I'm going to go to the gym, I've got a cold and stuff. It's like, you need to rest, man.
Yeah.
You're just going to prolong the effect of it.
People that go to the gym with a sickness as well, where you fucking mentally ill.
Absolute fucking wank stains, mate. Like, just spreading their germs about every cunt.
I'm definitely at that stage now as well. I'm like, if you're fucked, get away from me.
Aye.
I don't feel like I've got the cold. I'm just physically like exhausted. But I am alright. How you been?
I've been alright, mate. I've got a quieter week this week. I'm going to Amsterdam in some couple of weeks, and I'm I'm doing that thing where I'm winding down my fucking calendar.
Who are you going with?
My missus, and my best mate and his missus.
Awesome.
Gonna get in about the prosies, mate.
The prosies.
Can't wait.
Aye, I've had some
Prosies?
no prosies. No comment.
What's the best one I ever heard, and it took me ages to fucking come round to it, was my mate's dad to twig what he was talking about. He was talking about gas cookers.
Aye.
And I was just sitting there going, what's he talking about, gas cookers? And then somebody was like, hookers? I was like, alright, I get it.
Gas cooker.
You ever been to Amsterdam?
I have.
It's class, isn't it?
I've been twice, and it was for 2 stag do's.
Oh, fuck.
Aye.
Wow.
It was mental.
Were you in a group of people that you see them, they get drunk, they smoke, their faces go red, and then they're fucking spewing at the...
It was pretty weird. It was like they were all stoners, and they were just sitting getting fucking stoned, and I can't smoke weed. I've never able to smoke it, so I'm over there like a fucking speedball. Like everybody's getting stoned, and I want to get out my nut.
Right.
But it was a good laugh. I mean, I think everybody should go. The only thing that ruined it was the fact that it was a stag do. But I'd like to go back and do what you're doing, like go back with a bird or something.
Aye, mate.
And chill. And
this will be my 12th visit to Amsterdam. I've been so many times, mate. 11 or 12. I was trying to figure it out. I was like, were they the same time? Definitely at least 11 times that I've been. I used to go every year, just because. You know,
because you love Van Frank.
I like hiding in lofts.
Aye.
No, mate, I would live in Amsterdam. I love it. I think it's an amazing place.
That is nice. When I went, there was you know how there's always like one pal that's on the same wavelength as you. But as everybody was getting stoned, we were like, right, let's fucking go out for a walk, and we'll try and do something. But we ended up getting mad with it and take a couple of eckies, and the queue for the Anne Frank was just like miles long.
Were you on eckies?
Aye. And I'm like, fuck that, man. Fucking waiting that. I'm a fuck waiting for that, man.
Did you get your eckies off of one of the wee psst, psst cunts?
Aye.
They're scary, mate.
We had t-shirts that all had funny fucking logos and shit on it, so everybody knew that it was a stag do. And we walked out our digs, see 100 yards down the street. I was like, we need to get back to the digs and change our taps. We need to get shots and all that one, because we were just like bullseyes. Right. Like, just, you want this, you want that, and it was fucking relentless, man.
Aye, mate. It's weird. The first time I went with a mate. It was funny, right? It was my first serious girlfriend. We were due to go. We were flying out on the Monday morning. Do you remember when, you might be a wee bit too young, Transavia Airways?
No,
they were like Dutch EasyJet, and they would fly for press week to Amsterdam for like £9.
Fuck.
Obviously, then your bag was like whatever. So I think the return flights were like £80, but that was with a suitcase, not really, really good. So that was why I went every year, because it was cheap as fuck. I figured out that it was cheaper to fly to Amsterdam than it was to go to London. So I was like, fuck it, I'll go to Amsterdam, because at least I can smoke there. But my ex, it was like the Friday night, and I was like, right, let's get everything together. And I was like, pure, right, you packed your case, but I was like, have you got your passport? And she just looked at me and went, I need a passport.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh, you're fucking idiot. But there was nothing that we could do, because I think we looked into it, you couldn't do like the 24-hour express thing unless you were renewing, and it was a Saturday and it was just not happening. So I changed it into my mate's name. It was just 2 guys, mate, and we were fucking weirdo magnets. There's a guy come up to us with a Scottish accent, heard the Scottish accent, come up and went, he's from Scotland. And he looked like, see, like the caddy out of Happy Gilmore, like a hobo. And I was like, oh, we were looking at a map. It was before mobile phones. Like, well, we had mobile phones, but we didn't have Google Maps. And I was like, oh, pure naive. Like, we're looking for this. And the guy basically like, grabbed my arm and was like, I'll tell you if you give me €20. And I was like trying to walk away, and I eventually had to just say to him, mate, see, if you don't let go of my fucking arm, I'm going to break your fucking face.
Wow.
And the guy was like, oh, I'm so sorry. But, you know, I'm 6'5", my mate's 6'4". I was thinking, see, if we won there, like, if you were like a pure, just not got that fucking aggressive, like, get the fuck away from me, I think he would have just stayed on. Like,
latched on.
I just latched on until you gave him money.
So he was Scottish. Do you think he was like homeless or
Oh,
something?
for sure, mate. I think a lot of the homeless people over in Amsterdam are people that immigrate there.
Aye.
Like to be, it's the tourism's insane, mate. See if you think the tourism in Edinburgh or Glasgow, that is like their full economy.
Wow.
That was the reason why they didn't, when the Conservatives get voted in, I think was it 10, 15 years ago, they tried to ban weed and it just got kiboshed because they rely on American and British and whatever Germans like going to Holland to have a smoke.
So I take it that gives the community millions of pounds. And if they wanted to make that illegal, it would just be silly.
It would die, mate.
Especially
surely.
when it's in a safe environment. You know what you're smoking and you know what you're getting.
Aye, mate.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Aye, mate. But even the aggression for the prostitutes is intimidating. Like them coming out and try to grab you in, try to pull you in.
Yeah. I wouldn't know about that.
You were waiting in a wee queue.
I was there for Anne Frank and went, what the fuck?
Taking Eckies in Anne Frank's loft.
No, it's like, no, I'm not even going to finish that.
Imagine that for a come down, waking up next to Anne Frank.
Oh. Walking through the Anne Frank Museum where I come down.
Fuck that one.
Imagine just being in a loft where I come down, never mind Anne Frank's loft.
A wee loft goblin full of Eckies.
I wonder when Eckies came out. It's mad to think Eckies, weren't they?
Wasn't it?
Just think they never knew about Eckies back in the day.
Well, Hitler was big on amphetamine. That's why everything was so passionate.
Yeah.
He literally was he'd Eckie job, but he was literally having that conversation that you have in the house party where you're like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, but in front of a full fucking nation of people. He's sitting there going, I'm going to invade Poland, fuck it. And then waking up the next day and going, oh no.
Oh no, what have I done?
Imagine the fear. They're already in Poland, Adolf.
We've started it now, we might as well keep going. So, you've had an alright week then since I've last seen you?
Aye, mate. It's good to see you, but mate.
It's good to see you as well, mate. This is the highlight of my week. Genuinely.
It's nice to hear.
Would you go to Amsterdam with me?
Absolutely.
Probably.
Take Eckies. Sit in a loft.
Wanias would die though. I think Wanias would die.
Oh, mate.
Cut to 5 year, I'd be latching onto somebody's arm. I'll geese it for €20, I'll take you.
The cunts in Amsterdam are fucking crazy as well, mate. First time I went, I locked us out of the hostel room. So it was like a private hostel room with like 2 bunk beds, whatever. And I locked the key in the room. And the guy that was in the reception was like, oh, the person that owns the place has got the spare keys and they are in like Den Haag or whatever. Like they're not in Amsterdam, they're not coming back to tomorrow. So we had to sleep in the reception with this guy. And he was sitting smoking a pipe. And I was like, what are you smoking? He was pure crack.
Oh my God.
Just pure balls out. Bit of crack.
Crack cocaine?
Aye, mate.
Wow.
Guy was sitting fucking freebasing in the fucking...
Is there a smell off that?
I don't really remember. I think that's what triggered me to ask, what the fuck's that he's smoking?
Yeah.
But obviously it will just have like a pure chemical smell, won't it? It'll just smell rancid.
That's mental, mate.
But I just pure balls out like some crack.
I like it's nothing. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I always heard somebody, I think it was like a friend that I knew that smoked heroin.
Right.
And he proper turned his nose up at like coke and Eckies and stuff. He's like, I don't do that, it's a lot of shite.
Okay.
And he smoked smack. Didn't he really drink, was quite functioning. I think we've spoke about this in the podcast before, but just how he would just like, if somebody says you want a line, he'd be like, nah.
Don't touch that shite.
Aye. And he's like, fuck, I'm sucking a fucking ghost knob there.
Is that him sucking a dick for his smack?
I was having a flashback there, man.
Do you remember that advert that used to be on TV with the wee guy where he's a pure do you want to smoke? Do you want to smoke it? Like, what was it they said? Fucking, is that heroin? The guy's like, aye, smack. And then the next thing the guy's taking his PlayStation into the pawn shop.
Remember watching it as a wee guy though? It was horrifying. But now you're like, wee dick. Remember they cunts that used to come to your school? Like the
hopscotch.
They
were like a mad play. They were like a mad musical theatre group that did like hard hitting issues.
I can't slag them because I kind of know them, but but I remember there was a boy band that came and it was called. They were called Still no, fuck. Natural High. I'm sure they were called Natural High.
Right.
And it was in the auditorium, and this guy, the boy band leader,
Right.
was like, there was a police there as well, getting a drug talk, and he pulls out a suitcase, and he's like, all the stuff about knife crime and stuff. But then he starts talking about drugs, and he's like, we can't force you to take drugs. To no take drugs.
Right.
You're either gonna take them or you won't take them.
Uh-huh.
But this is what's I've seen in people dying of taking ecstasy and stuff. And then I was like, fair enough. He's scared me. I don't want to take drugs. And then this fucking How High cunt came out, and he's like, I was at a party when I was 14 years old, and someone spiked my drink with quarter of an ecstasy tablet, and I woke up in the hospital 2 weeks later, and I was crying and confused, and everybody was like, aye, we're taking eckies because of him. Fuck him.
Fuck him. Aye, mate. Aye. I remember fucking having a conversation with somebody. They were like, being like, I would never take ecstasy. And I was like, how? And they were like, because I knew somebody that took half an ecstasy tablet and died for it. And I was like, well, either that's not ecstasy that they've took, or that's horseshit. Anybody that I've ever seen get proper complications have taken a lot.
Yeah.
They overdose on it. They take... Nowadays you get the big fuckers that they're like, 500 milligram MDMA, and you should be chopping them up into like quarters or whatever, test the water. But I've had a lot of experience with ecstasy. I have never seen somebody take like a quarter of an ecstasy tablet and drop down fucking dead, unless I've seen people take ketamine thinking it's ecstasy or whatever like that. But that's like the pure newspapers. That's like the pure scare stories. I took half an ecstasy and was in a coma, and it's like, you're patronising people now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sure, the people that were in your school had big cousins, big brothers that were pure. It's fucking brilliant. You know what I mean? You're like, this fucking wee Glasgow uni cunts coming around pure, yeah, man, don't take it. Don't do drugs. It's better. Like fucking natural high.
I know.
Like natural fuck off.
I had a trial for Motherwell FC, and I didn't turn up because I had to come down. James McFadden used to be my friend.
I could have been someday.
Obviously I'm no saying I'm sober. I'm proud to be sober, yeah. But like, when you go to Amsterdam and you smoke weed, you're going to be all right, because it's like, it's not mixed with anything. It's the same way like hash and stuff. Like when people lose their fucking mind smoking hash, it's because their shit is dipped in shit. It's probably fucking dipped in bleach.
Back in the day, you'd get soap bar and slate, and you would cut the fucking ounce in half, and there'd be a bit of a poly bag. So they'd be hollowing out the middle of the bar. So like you get a 9 bar, which is 9 ounces of hash, right? It's got
I don't even know what you're saying, mate. Like, honestly. I feel like I'm an undercover police right now. I'm like, yeah, man, hash.
Yeah, I smoke hash, man. Like with your fucking your Timbies and your bootcut jeans on.
Can I have £50 worth, please?
Can you roll it up for me? Like, fuck off, you're not. No, but you would get 9 ounces. That's like the standard, like a bar, right? You would buy that, you'd chop it up, and you'd sell it.
Yeah.
And sometimes you would see cunts' eyes. So what they would do is they would hollow out the inside of the hash, and then stuff it with poly bags, and then sell that.
Was it to make it weigh more?
To make it weigh the same, but you would hollow it out, so you'd be taking 9 ounces and turning it into like 12, or turning it into 14, 15 ounces, because you would take the middle of the bar out and then stuff a black bag into it.
That's mental.
I know, mate. And then the way that you cut it up, you put it in the microwave and then you take it out, and it would just be melted poly bags. So cunts are literally smoking melted plastic.
Aye. And then they're 20 years down the line, they're like...
They're on a permo.
Aye.
They're dancing in the middle of fucking Buchanan Street to some rave music or something, man. That's, you know what I mean?
Aye. We know who... Or you're hitting tin bins to fucking rave music. That fucking mad cunt, I know.
With the mad dancing teddy bears.
I don't really want to talk about drugs too much, because I do panto. So, I mean, I've been cancelled weeks ago. I was getting a ghost a blowjob there. So,
what's on the list, mate?
I've had a weird 9 days. So I've basically just been in my bed for 9 days watching the telly. Did you see? I want to talk about my tweet. Did you see my Rangers tweet?
I About the penalty?
Aye.
I did, mate.
So basically, I'm Mystic Meg. That's what I'm saying, right? I'm the Sixth Sense. I'm Bruce Willis. I can see ghosts. I've never seen a tweet go as mental as that on my social media. It ended up getting 500,000 views. It had something like 10. You know how you can click in to see.
Oh, you're on I was thinking,
Aye.
how the fuck do you know? Aye, it's like reach.
Aye.
Right.
It was like 500,000, 10,000 profile visits, and it was just mental. Essentially, I was watching the Rangers and the Dundee game, and it was a good game considering Dundee are shite. I thought it was all right. Their players were playing well. And then about 5 minutes before it happened, I tweeted, Rangers are so bad today, I could see them missing their penalty.
Mm-hmm.
Clicked send. And honestly, about a minute later, they get a penalty and Tavernier put it out of the bar. And it just went mental.
You're like the Nostradamus of Scottish football.
Well, I mean, I'm all a bit freaky. Remember, I had the dream about my uncle and stuff. So
that's right.
I'm full blown.
You're an intuitive, clairvoyant.
What's that? What was that?
An intuitive's a broad name for people that want to kid on that they can like speak to ghosts and predict the future. So it's about intuition. Like you've got like that sixth sense.
Aye.
So
but I do it with pure shite things.
You
like,
do it with football.
I remember Chris Sutton's brother, John Sutton.
Uh-huh.
I had that years ago with him. I was like, he's going to score a penalty. I put a fiver on and got 35 quid. So
oh, did you?
I like to use my powers for good.
You're in I could just imagine like the mad fucking music, the pure boop, boop, pure. I predicted a penalty against Dundee one. Like just pure, guys, here's my daily routine to keep my intuition.
But a couple of Rangers don't get me wrong, everybody was like, that is fucking mental.
Aye.
Even Rangers fans were like, that is mental. There was a couple like, fucking hell, Timothy, even a broken clock is right twice a day. And I'm like,
Timothy.
No, I said he was going to miss the penalty. That's the difference. Do you know what I mean? So, up yes.
I get it up. So that was the reaction. Did you get any abuse? Because anybody that really comments on Scottish football, especially the Celtic and Rangers, tend to get a bit of abuse.
I never get abuse with that one, sadly. Surprisingly. It was only a couple of hope you enjoyed the game, thanks for watching and all that.
Oh, fuck's
Like,
sake.
am I not allowed to watch Scottish football?
I know, mate. That's pathetic, that shit. Obsessed. What you doing watching Rangers? You're like, it's my club's greatest rivals.
Yes.
I enjoy having a wank to them getting beat, mate.
Aye. And if you drop points, Celtic could possibly fucking win the league.
Why would I not be interested in that? Like, I hate that for both sides. I hate that shit. Like, stick to your own team. You're like, they realise that the two of them come kind of hand in hand
Aye.
with each other. Like, fuck's sake.
Because I fucking love Scottish football, by the way, but I hate all that shit attached to it. I prefer Scottish football to anything else. I'd rather watch Partick Thistle than a Championship England game. Like, honestly, I get more out of Cove Rangers and Paul Hartley, man. Fucking yes.
Fucking yes.
Aye, so that happened. But I had a strange just watching mad shit on. What am I saying? I'll talk about a viral tweet, right? Tiffany King, are you aware of that? It happened last night in LA, a film premiere.
Oh, right. I've seen, right. So, was a tweet like, hell on earth has happened. Is it right?
Aye.
I've seen the tweet, but I was in a recording session and I forgot about it. So it was like, yeah, go tell me what happened.
So essentially, there was a cinema in LA similar to the Glasgow Film Theatre, a wee arty-farty independent
Right.
cinema, and they were showing a film. I'm not too sure what the film was, but the projector broke, and as the projector was broke and it was fucked, this woman decided to stand up and do an off-the-cuff stand-up comedy set, and she was there with her 5-year-old daughter, and she said her daughter dared her to do it. And the video, it went like a couple of newspapers covered it, a couple
Aye.
of big news outlets covered this story, and then see the actual video. It's just an unhinged woman dying on her arse in front of a crowd that are literally saying out loud, what the fuck is happening.
Is it Tiffany King?
Tiffany King.
Right, the videos get 3 million views on Twitter. That original tweet, all hell broke loose at the AMC Burbank 16 last night. It's gets 80,000 likes and 11,000 retweets and 3 million views on, so it's went viral like big time. So she get dared to do a stand-up set?
Because she's a stand-up comedian. I think she's an open spot stand-up comedian.
Okay.
And she died on her arse, and then at the end of it, she was like, I'm also a clairvoyant. She was like, touch me up.
You're the Scottish Tiffany King, mate.
But I was watching it and I was like, aye, that's like the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. Just fucking a mentally ill person. Just that would be like the Fringe in Edinburgh. Just a mentally ill person standing up in a bus and just being like, Anne Frank, I got for the eckies at Anne Frank Museum. And everybody's like, aye.
Aye. I think no matter how good a stand-up comedian you are, if you try and impose your set on people that aren't there, that have paid to go and see a movie and aren't there to see you, it's not going to go well. People just got to tell you to sit down and shut the fuck up. And
not having that awareness, though, that to know that you're shite is scary. I feel, I'm saying this as comical value, but I feel like certain stand-up comedians and serial killers, it's very close. Do you know what I mean? I feel like some open spot comedians are very close to a couple of bad decisions in life that could make them serial killers.
Right.
You see it in their fucking eyes, man.
And they've got that deranged fucking...
You're like, yous are not even the funniest cunt in your work. Never mind on a stage. I remember walking through I won't name him, right? He's an open spot. Absolute prick. He was a bad person. That's why I'm saying he's a prick. Walking through the town, going to the State Bar. The State Bar used to do stand-up, and I think I'd done my 4th gig there. A great gig ran by Chris Broomfield. And this guy was gigging there that night, and I was walking through Glasgow city centre, right? And he was just standing up. He was standing on the pavement, right? Looking up at the fucking sky. Just standing, like, staring into the sky. And I was like, you all right, mate? And he was like, oh, yeah, yes. And I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, nothing. Just completely flustered. I was like, you're just looking up at the sky, mate?
Fantasising about mass murder.
And he was the type of guy that was always giggling to himself. And I think he had a wee... I don't know if he had a voice recorder, a wee notepad or something in his pocket. And he was always, like, taking notes. And then he would go up and he would just horrifically die in his arse. And after it, he'd be like, like it was good.
Mm-hmm. Oh, mate, that lack of self-awareness in people freaks me the fuck out, because I worry, I'm like, am I like that? Do you know what I mean? Do I have that lack of self-awareness? Even if you're asking yourself that question, I don't think you do. I think you must have a level, well, you do, because you're asking yourself. These people don't ask themselves if they're all, you know what I mean? They just floats about going, they must just sit in their own head going, I'm amazing.
Yeah.
This is toxic positivity, mate. This is what happens when you just blow smoke up your own arse.
Yeah.
You don't live in reality and you're just like, I'm going to manifest a comedy career by kidding on that I'm fucking, you know what I mean?
Sometimes you see it on stage. Like, I mean, it's never at a professional night. It's always at open spot nights. They'll say a joke. They won't get a laugh. And then they'll say, that was funny. Why are you not laughing at that?
I had a conversation with somebody about this, right? And this conversation's just triggered this. Do you base your opinion on your set based on the reaction that you get for the crowd?
It depends.
Right.
But I would say so, yeah.
Right. Do you record your sets?
I've only started doing it.
Right, okay. So
within the last year.
It was a conversation with an aspiring comedian, shall we say. And he listens to this podcast, by the way. And I've seen him he's not an aspiring comedian because he's done gigs, right? So he is a comedian, but he's not done gigs in a while. So he's aspiring to get back to comedy, right? And he was telling me a story about basically like dying on his arse. And I said to him, like, and he was like, I was horrendous. And I was like, well, how do you know? He's like, because nobody was laughing. I was like, right, but so you're going to base your opinion on your art form on the reaction that you get for it? And he was like, aye. And I was like, well, I wouldn't do that, mate. I get advice years ago for a music agent, a high-powered music agent, to record your sets. And I was like, why? And he went, because you run the risk of basing your thoughts and feelings on how you're doing and music based on the reaction that you get for the crowd. And he's like, and that's not always the best way to do it, because you could get put in front of the wrong crowd.
Yeah.
And you're trying to achieve something that just doesn't suit the crowd. So fuck them. And I was like, right. And he's like, so record your sets, listen back, and base it on the facts. And mate, see the amount of times where I'd come off stage and I was like, that's utter shite. And I'd listen back and be like, fuck's sake, that was good. Like,
I do agree with you. And I agree with him as well, but it's different with comedy because it's weird. Like did I tell you a couple of weeks ago I did a gig and there was only 5 people in the crowd?
Aye.
So did I speak about that in the
You
podcast?
didn't really speak about it, you just mentioned it.
So because I've been doing it so long, it wasn't a good gig, but I never died in my arse. Do you know what I mean? I get 20 minutes and I went up there and I said, look, everybody's been up tonight and everyone struggled because it's such a small gig.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to hit yous with my shit straight away like I'm fucking Peter Kay. I'm addressing the elephant in the room. And I felt like I got through 20 minutes.
Right.
And after it, I said to myself, that was a shite gig, but I felt like I was professional enough to make it all right. So I feel like the punters would be like, do you know what? It was a fucking mental gig. There's only 5 years here, but he's went up and he's done enough. But like if you're standing in front of 300 people and you're not getting a laugh, then I think you'd be struggling. It's like essentially, if you're a new person, right, and you're nervous and stuff, I wouldn't even think about yourself as shite. You're still learning your
You're
trade.
new, aye.
So see if you're up there and you're shaky and you're forgetting your material.
You're shite. It is shite. It's awkward and hard to watch, isn't it?
It is what it is.
Uh-huh.
But see if you've got a number of gigs. Put it this way, right? See if you've got a couple of gigs under your belt and you go and do the stand in Glasgow on a Tuesday night, Red Raw. See if you don't get laughs at Red Raw, you're shite.
Well, aye, unless you're trying to do something different.
Yeah.
In the sense that if you're like say you're one of these people that wants to go to offend people, or you're an alternative comic and your style happens to be surreal.
Yeah.
People don't really laugh at that. Like, nobody laughed at Chappelle, like the last half hour of Chappelle's last stand-up special, but people are like, that's amazing. You know what I mean? It's just he's doing something different. And I think that was my sort of point. But I get what you're saying. If you're an experienced comic and you get laughs and you know when it's good and you know when it's bad, you can trust your instinct.
Yeah.
But if you're like this guy's not, it's like record your sets and base your opinion on what you want to do. Know what kind of reaction that you get on what you want to do, because then you might end up just pandering. You know what I mean?
Plus comedians, myself included, for a long time are over negative to the point that it's toxic. Because I've seen comedians go up and fucking smash it, right? And then they come off stage and they're like, oh, that was shite. And I'm like, you just stormed that gig.
That's self-deprecation. That could either be mental health, no mental illness, but poor mental health. But mate, it could also be fishing for compliments off your peers, which you get people like that, they're draining, you know what I mean? You're like, you fucking smashed that. And they're just like, no, please tell me that I did it. I didn't. And it's like, it's all right to be like, I fucking nailed that there, mate. Like, how good was that? When it is good, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think I'm different as like I go through all these techniques in my brain to kind of trick myself into feeling better. So before I go on stage, I just kind of cut myself off in my brain. I say, every single person in that room is my best mate. Why do I want to feel nervous or shy in front of my mates? Because I love them and they love me and they want me to do well. I'm going to go up and make all my mates laugh. They've all been working the day, they want to be entertained, and I'm going to make them laugh. So why do I want to feel bad? And honestly, I kind of go up there and I treat it like a friendship for 20 minutes and I never punch down. It's always me that's a joke, or family members that the joke, unless I'm getting heckled or something.
Right, and somebody's fucking copying it, mate. Aye, mate, see if you're a good comic, which you know, I'm not going to be like, I've seen your sets, because I've no, and I'm
Yeah.
fucking dying to come and see you. But see, if you're a good comic, it's a fucking privilege for them to sit there and watch you.
Yeah.
So,
Imagine I was pure shite.
like, like, how was that? Like, pure, it was good, mate.
I've been 24 podcasts I've been doing with you, and you're like, I've heard Connell's alright at stand up, but I went to see him last night. He was gibbering pish about everybody being his best mate.
Next week, you'll be like, episode 25, Paul's no here. Just an empty chair earlier.
And plus, I'm also I'm not daft enough to admit when I'm shite. Like, you win some, you lose some. It is what it is. When you lose it, just don't let it eat away at you.
Aye.
You need to accept that sometimes you're shite, and it can be through drunk people, it can be through anything. Do you know what I mean? I remember one time before I walked onto the stage, I get dumped off a bird. And it was literally like, I can't do this anymore. I don't like you. I can't go with you. Welcome to the stage, Darren Connell. And I was pure, hello, what? Just brutal.
Aye, that's not good timing, mate. That's terrible timing.
I remember one time my uncle died. One of my uncles died, and all. And I had a gig. And I was just like, just on stage, like, my uncle died. The complete silence.
Aye, it's like, they think it's a joke. You're getting up and you're like, sorry guys, this set's not going to be great because I've just found out my uncle's died, and it's pure tumbleweed in the room, pure one guy, pure, fucking brilliant. You're like, I'm no joking, mate. Like, seriously, gonna somebody go and get me a shot of absinthe.
I was like, I'm going through a really traumatic experience. My uncle died. I'm like, what?
Some people would make that joke,
yeah,
and think that would be, I'm laughing now just at the awkwardness there. Like, you'd be like, no.
Aye.
But, mate, sometimes, like you're saying, sometimes you have bad gigs, mate. Doesn't
Yeah.
define you as an artist. That's music. That's everything, mate.
Yeah.
You know, that you can still kick on, make sure your next one's a good one. The other one that really fucks with me is performance anxiety, like you're talking about. It's that weird sort of juxtaposition you end up in where it's like, I care so much about this being good that I'm really nervous, which means it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like you're sabotaging yourself. Like,
did you get nerves? Did you get that?
I go, when I was underprepared for gigs, so say we had a big gig and I didn't think that I had rehearsed enough during that week or was like stage sharp, I would get nervous. The majority of the time I would get excited.
Yeah.
It's hard to define the two because the symptoms of excitement and nerves are the exact same, but the difference between it's what's going through your mind.
Yeah.
If your mind is on failing, then it's nerves. If your mind is on succeeding and you've got the same feeling, it's excitement.
Yeah.
Mate, that there's been, I'm sure you relate to this, some gigs I would go into not giving a fuck, and I don't think that's good either.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. If I think that what you're saying, like, I remember you telling me the story about the first Red Raw when you went back, you went into the cafe in Woodlands Road and blah, blah, blah. That is the level at which you care about your art. That's a good thing, ultimately. I think that's the best way to look at it, is going, look, these nerves mean that I fucking care.
Yeah.
I remember listening to Matt Bellamy for Muse, and they were asking him, do you get nervous before you go on stage? And he's like, of course I did, because if I didn't get nervous going out to play to 100,000 people, then I don't care about what I'm doing. And it means that I'm going to be as good as I can be, as long as you manage it.
Aye, that is true, mate. And it does kind of boil down to, like, you need to be grateful for, I mean, obviously you work hard for it. I've became a stand-up comedian through hard work. But you do think, like, here, wait a minute, this is working class people that are paying money for a ticket to come and see me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would never fucking disrespect a crowd like that. I would never do that. Like, it's so disgusting when you see comedians that go up and it's like, I don't give a fuck. Or you get a lot of comedians. All of them are shite, by the way. It's never a good comedian. But some of them will gig. There'll be comedians at the back of the room, and the comedian on the stage will gig to the comedians. So it'll be like hundreds of in-jokes and shitty wee personal jokes.
Aye, that's no
and,
good.
And all the audience are sitting there thinking, what the fuck is happening? But all these comedians are cackling to each other, and I would never do that. It's so fucking disrespectful. Like, if somebody puts on if somebody's going to pay you a ticket, like, you put on a show and you try to make it the best show possible.
100%, mate. That's the right attitude, man.
It's like Jock Stein said with Celtic, didn't he? Said something similar.
Football without fans is nothing.
Exactly.
Stand up with a crowd is,
Nothing. And that's why I do jokes about fucking Eckies and Anne Frank's loft. I'm kind of like the comedy version of Jock Stein. How long have How long have we done?
40 minutes, mate.
40 minutes.
This is fluent, mate. What were you going to talk about before the viral tweet?
The viral tweet, right? I've just got a couple of weird things here. Like, I was watching episodes of. I don't even know if that's going to be funny. Might be interesting though. Have you ever heard of Mr. Rogers?
No.
He was a child entertainer and psychologist in America.
Right.
And he started off as a child psychologist, and then he started his own TV show, and it was called Mr. Rogers. And he did this.
When you mean a child psychologist, do you mean like an adult that's a psychologist for children, or a child who's a psychologist?
That'd be fucking mental if you get a child psychologist.
Imagine turning up for therapy and it was a 10-year-old and a wee suit.
Got my wife's going to leave me. Gaga goo goo. I know. That's what I'm saying.
Just go down and get a toy.
Hi, what'd you do when you're stressed? I don't know. Play with my fucking Lego.
Right, so he was an adult then, I take it?
He was an adult.
Right, okay. Aye.
And Tom Hanks played him in a film.
Ah, right. What was that?
A Beautiful Day in the Neighbourhood.
Nah, right, okay. Right.
And
okay.
this was the kind of, I don't know, I think it's because I had the flu, right? And I was just bored and I went down a rabbit hole. But a wee bit of positivity with the podcast, because somebody was talking about Chris Farley to me last night, and I was like, that's because I was speaking about it on the podcast.
Right.
So, fuck it, check out Mr. Rogers. I just find the guy so fascinating and interesting. He did 900 episodes, his TV show, right?
Right.
Probably about 30, 40 years, I think he was on the telly for. He started as a young guy and he died when he was like 75. And I was just watching hundreds of clips of him last night. He was on like The Tonight Show as a guest. Arsenio Hall, have you ever seen Arsenio Hall?
I remember that.
I love Arsenio Hall, right? He's a good actor and he's got his own talk show, but the majority of his crowd are Black Americans. And it's like working class Black Americans. If you see some of his guests, it's like Ice Cube and NWA, and it's like gangster rap stuff, but it's an amazing fucking show.
He was a stand-up comedian as well, Arsenio Hall, wasn't he?
An amazing actor, an amazing stand-up comedian, but to put like Mr. Rogers on his show is just, it was odd. But I watched it last night and it was amazing. It was like, I don't want to sound cheesy or anything, but it's just like this guy who has the right intentions, that has a pure heart, just had the fucking audience in the palm of his hand. And this Arsenio Hall was just like, I just don't think they make people like that anymore. He was like an amazing guest, and this has been an amazing crowd. Thank you so much. You could hear a fucking pin drop, and you see these like adults like Arsenio Hall saying like, I grew up with you, you're my fucking childhood. And he was a kind of first guy. I mean, you've got to, what was it? See, racism back in the day in America, what was it called when they didn't let people in swimming pools?
Segregation.
Segregation.
I said segregation there, mate.
All right, thank fuck you corrected that, because I'd have went away and be like, segregation.
I've had a stroke there, like, trying to say that. No, segregation.
Segregation, right? So see, when all that was happening in America, Mr. Rogers had a guy on his TV show that worked on the TV show, and he was black, right?
Right.
He got him on as a guest, and he was just like, how's your day? How have you been? How's your family? And see, as he was having this conversation with this guy, they went in a paddling pool together, and they were just like chilling in a pool.
Right.
So he was like, got this guy on a TV show in front of millions of people, and he was like, fuck yous, basically. Like, he was the first guy to ever do that. I think it was back in the 60s or
Right.
something.
Good for him,
Like,
mate.
So he was breaking down like barriers like that. Also, when Robert F. Kennedy get assassinated,
69. I think that was
1969,
Mm-hmm.
2 days after the assassination, he was like, he had all these characters, like child characters with puppets and stuff, and he was talking about what's an assassination and stuff, like proper groundbreaking shit.
Right.
So I was in a flu fucking.
Were you watching the episodes of his TV show? Like old episodes?
I watched a couple, right, and it was. I'll be honest with you, I never enjoyed it because it was
hard to watch.
It was old, really old and dated.
I get that, mate.
It was like, I've done that a few times with Amazon, like watching old Laurel and Hardy stuff and all that, and I'm like, this is
Makes
shite.
it hard for me with my missus sometimes. See, because she's 10 years younger than me, I'll put on stuff for like 2001, 2002. That was my era, right? Like I was 16, 17, 18 at the turn of the 2000s, and she's like, I can't get into it, man. It's too old. And I'm like, that's like me with my dad fucking cowboy movies. Like, and that's just like, oh, for fuck's sake. But I get it. I remember being later. I get that because stuff for the 70s, like TV shows, sometimes, I don't know why, sometimes it just doesn't date. It dates well. You're like, that's fine. I can watch that. Sometimes you're watching stuff and you're like, it's too dated, man. I just can't get past the...
Plus the production value of some stuff is like really bad. I can't remember what film it was, but it was a horror film from 1997, and the actual vision of it was just terrible. I was like, I can't watch
Do you
this.
know what's a funny one that's related but different is the quality of presenting. See, like now, where even like you on this, right?
Yeah.
You've got a level of professional, like, sort of production value where you're like, hello and welcome. And you've got, like, have you ever watched like old episodes of something like Bullseye, like Jim Bowen? And you're like, what is he doing? He's just randomly just coming away with stuff. And you're like, that makes no sense. Like, they didn't even have control of, like, going, like, you need to stick to, like, a structure and a script. Like, he was just getting off on one. Like, so it's so weird to watch that, and you're like, that was prime time TV.
That's pretty shit.
Somebody's that's probably had about 10 whiskies that day. It's like reading the news and like just be like, oh fucking like Oliver Reed on Parky or whatever, Parkinson he was called.
Parkinson.
Aye, right. I mean that's wild.
Embarrassing.
It's wild, mate. Doing mad dances, not you're like, that's somebody's fucking drunk that. Like, what the fuck's going on here?
He's probably a bad example to use, but like, see the kind of era of Jim Davidson when it was like all-star comedy, and it was up and coming stand-up comedians coming on the show. I watched something like that but recently, and it was like all them on it, and it was this guy doing a trick with a pen. He was doing something with a pen, right? And the crowd were fucking lapping it up. Like he was storming it. And I'm like, that's just like a cunt in a pub, like winging it. It wasn't even that good. But then I suppose that's really similar to like Laurel and Hardy stuff. Because see if you watch Laurel and Hardy and things like the Three Stooges and all that, see the pie in the face stuff. Like back in the day, that was groundbreaking.
That was like pure prime comedy.
Aye. And see the amount of people that have copied just the basic kind of structure of a joke. It's mental. You'll see it in like mate. Family Guy, The
Try and say this to people, again, I'm getting back to my missus, like Bill Hicks, where I'll be like, we need to watch Bill Hicks, right? We're big into comedy. Like, I'm big into comedy. No comedian by any fucking stretch of imagination, but I love watching stand-up comedy. So I got her into watching like the Netflix specials, and then I was like, you need to watch Hicks, Pryor, the guy with the beard and the ponytail.
Beard and ponytail? Is he white?
American dude.
Oh, he's always old, isn't he?
Uh-huh.
I've never seen him young. Oh my God, what's his name?
He was in Jane Silent Bob Strikes
Yes.
Back.
I feel ashamed that I cannot remember that guy's
me
name.
too, mate. Me too. I've watched so much his comedy, and I can't believe I can't remember his name.
Can I go into a pee?
Aye, mate. George Carlin.
No, man. How the fuck did I not get that?
I know, man. But
I've got dementia.
I was saying to her, look, we need to go back and watch Hicks, Carlin, and Pryor, and she can't get into it. And it's because they're not as slick.
Yeah.
It's nowadays it's so slick, mate. I mean, you watch some stand-up comedians, you're like, see if that had been 20 years ago, he'd be an absolute fucking top boy.
Yeah.
Now he's looking shite in comparison to I try to say to her, it's like listening to the Beatles.
Yeah.
You can't listen to fucking, the Arctic Monkeys and then go back and try and compare it to the Beatles. The actual root, like the core of what they're doing is better. But the production value and the structure and how we know this is when the chorus comes in, this is where this goes, it's too slick. When you try and compare it, it just feels shite. Because you're watching Bill Hicks and you're like, he is up there just riffing and just gone for like, just going off and goes mental. Like, and I think that's amazing. It's like way more artistic than somebody that gets up and he's like, you can tell that they've practiced their set within an inch of its life.
Yeah.
But if you start with that and you try and go back, I think it's dated. You're like, fuck's sake.
Do you think Bill Hicks is dated if you watched it again?
Aye. Not to me. I watch it and laugh. I'll still fucking piss myself laughing. But I think for people that are used to like, the modern comedy hour, where everything's like fucking absolutely like looks amazing, sounds amazing, it's just kind of like...
I feel like I'm the same with you, with Bill Hicks, Richard Pryor, I love him, Eddie Murphy, Raw and Delirious, brilliant. It's like when you compare like Kevin Hart to Eddie Murphy, I knew that they were having a beef, they were talking about ticket sales and stuff, and I think Kevin Hart was saying he's bigger now. I don't feel like, maybe that is true, but like when Eddie Murphy did Raw, he was 21 years old and there was nothing like that.
Nobody had ever done that before.
Aye.
That's what Kevin Hart's followed the blueprint. That's why Chris Rock always talks about this, where he's like, I will never be as good as Eddie Murphy because I've followed his footsteps.
Yeah.
Even if technically your comedy becomes better, technically you're making more money, technically you're selling more tickets, don't let your ego try and get away with it, because he broke that ground. Eddie Murphy was one of the first.
Yeah.
I mean, Arsenio Hall was after that. Like,
I grew up with Eddie Murphy.
Me too, mate.
He was my comedian when I was young.
Definitely. Beverly Hills Cop. Like, all the movies as well run about that time that he did. He was a superstar, mate. He was a fucking... It was just a different era, you know what I mean? Like,
I also feel like I really need to word this very carefully. But when I was younger... I never watched Billy Connolly when I was young. It was Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy. And I feel like that made me learn about people that were different for me. Like, oh, that guy's got a different colour of skin for me. He's from a different country. And I just remember thinking, it doesn't mean anything. It's like, I'm not, about racism and stuff. I was like, it took away that. So when I seen, like, obviously, like a normal person, when I see racism when I was younger, I was like, that's not right. Do you know what I mean? Because I think you can get poisoned by your surroundings, and that's what causes bigotry and racism and stuff.
Aye.
I feel like growing up on a diet of those two guys, I was like, I'm very, very grateful that happened.
You can relate to what they're saying, so you realise that they're no different for you.
Aye.
Just other than the colour of their skin, you know what I mean?
Aye, but also like being a wee guy and thinking, I want to be mates with them as well. Like, because they're fucking amazing.
Don't know if I'd have wanted to be mates with Richard Pryor and end up setting yourself on fire.
Smoking crack.
Aye, freebasing crack.
And I also feel like I need to say, obviously, Eddie Murphy said some outrageous things on Raw.
Aye.
Of course.
You watch
I know
it now.
somebody's going to fucking say something.
You watch it now and some of the stuff you're like, whoa, fucking hell. But again, it was a different time. It was acceptable for people to talk like that back then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I think my favourites, I don't know about you, but Richard Pryor's live in concert, the bit where he talks about the Doug, where his wee monkeys have died. That's hilarious, mate. And I think that was I don't know if it was, but that was like, see the way he did the voices? And he did like the white guy voice, like the pure,
Yeah.
and
First guy to do the white guy voice,
right.
by the way.
So another,
and everybody copied him.
another groundbreaking. Like even guys like no white comedians put on like a voice to represent, you know, like other white people, and it's a similar voice to Pryor. But the Eddie Murphy story where he talks about in the nightclub, and he's like, I talk a good fight. And he's like, usually it works, but then you get that one psycho that's like, I think he's like, does he not go like, this is what I like, come on, come on, and he's like, oh fuck, like I've got an actual psycho in front of me here. And some of the stories about, I mean, the fucking slipper, the boomerang slippers thing, he's like his mod throw the shoe at them. And
the cookout as well, like I could relate to that. Mad family members that come to your house and you're like, who are these cunts? Like,
and fucking Aunt Boo Boo or something. I've fallen down the stairs. Mate, fucking the ice cream van, mate. Oh fuck, man, is that Delirious?
No, I think that's Raw. The two of them are
mate.
very similar. He does quite a lot of the same jokes. No, same word for word.
Same subject matters. Aye. But fucking Charlie Murphy, mate.
Charlie Murphy, aye.
Do you ever watch that? Charlie Murphy's Real Hollywood Stories in the Chappelle Show, mate. Fucking hell. He was a stand-up in the end, but he was hilarious, man.
He was also Eddie Murphy's body double in some films, like Beverly Hills.
He was his bodyguard in real life as well. That's what he did for a job. Have you seen the bit? I'm sure Charlie Murphy plays Eddie Murphy's dad at the start of one of the... See, like, there's the bit of one of the stand-ups, there's a bit where he's, like, in the house with his parents, and Charlie Murphy plays his dad.
Wow. I didn't know that. Is that the one when Samuel Jackson is there?
I think so, mate.
He tells the joke?
Mm-hmm.
God, I'll need to go back and watch that again. God, that's mental.
And G.I. Joe was swimming in the water. I mean, mate, that's a classic. I had them on tape.
Aye.
I got them AV cabled, like for a VHS into a stereo, and record them, and I used to listen to them when I was doing my papers when I was a wee guy. Think how wild that is. My dad used to just be like, you want to watch Richard Pryor? I'm like 7.
Aye. That's one thing I'm grateful for. My family letting me watch that stuff. I feel like it's made me into the person I am today. I don't know if that's a good thing, but it's definitely, I'm
shaped
glad.
Who you are.
Aye. Comedy wise, I'm glad. I mean, like, just watch it and always remember I had a tape. It was Adam Sandler before he was shite. He did this song called Medium Pace. Have you ever heard it?
No.
It's like a love song called Medium Pace, and it starts off as a love song, and it just descends into fucking madness. And I don't think we can play it in the podcast, but if you just Google it, I think he wrote it when he was like 22 or something. It's very, very funny. We'll play it after the podcast.
Awesome.
How long have we done now?
We're on an hour, mate.
Will there be a lot of editing with this? No.
Nothing at all. Just taking out your piss, mate.
I don't think there's much more we can talk about, mate, apart from my hair's looking fucking amazing.
It's looking great, mate. I need to say something.
What?
So last episode, I fancy it. No, I'm kidding.
Get your cock out and I'll suck it.
Live on the podcast, get your bobby out. I said last week that somebody had reached out to me, a mutual friend, and she had said, I like the red group chat because I'm in the red group. She did not say that. No, I got that completely wrong. She said she was in the green group. So I got a fucking voice note being like, you can. I did not fucking say it. And I was like, you're right.
And I've only got bullet points and notes here. It's just reminders and things like McTassels and stuff. So things that me and Paul talk about are just off the cuff. Essentially, I want it to be a comedy podcast, 2 guys talking shite, and nothing ever gets too serious. So, fuck it.
I've enjoyed this, mate.
I've enjoyed it as well, mate. It's good to be back. It's been very, very good for me. I feel like, see, when you lie in a bed for 9 days fucked, I could feel my mental health getting a wee bit fucked. And I'm glad that I pulled myself out of bed to come here. So, I'm going to wrap it up, mate. An hour is plenty.
Fucking right.
Before I go, thank you very much to McTassels. As always, your help is appreciated. McTassel's pay the costs of the studio. So if you'd like to give me a wee bit of money, you can donate a coffee through the coffee link on my Twitter, which is Darren Connell 87. You can add me on Facebook. I'm going to be announcing dates soon for a tour, so keep your eyes peeled. And I'm also going to announce a couple of other things that I'm going to keep on the hush right now. Paul, what's your Twitter?
At Rebel City Paul.
At Rebel City Paul. Most of you know what he looks like, but I love the fact that he's just behind the camera. I don't know. I think that's quite funny. Is that funny? Nah.
I don't know, man. Means I don't get abuse in the street. Anybody see me?
Oh, well, aye. But, aye, that's it. The podcast is finished. Episode 24. See you next week. Dab.
Dab, go for it, mate. Sick dab.
Sick dab.
Lying in bed for 9 days, dab.